Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to 2021's first feature of the entrepreneur's journey. Welcome back. We would have been on a break for the period of December, and I hope that you guys out there had a restful holiday period and you got a chance to reset and come back ready to tackle 2021 with new vigor and energy and focus. And we here at JBDC are ready to support you. We're prepared, gearing to support you as we have been in the virtual Biz Zone series, in all the virtual sessions that we've been having. And we're happy to be back with this special feature of the entrepreneur's journey on our Friday afternoon slot once again. And this afternoon, we have with us a young woman who is a nation builder, who is a daughter of the parish of St. James, rural Jamaica, but is well traveled, a global citizen, having experience in a range of fields, but also in a range of environments in our local environment in the Caribbean as well as in Europe, and brings a perspective to the entrepreneur's journey that I know we will all find valuable, as we do with these potential icons in the making, as I like to refer to our guests who come on to the entrepreneur's journey. Now, let me introduce you to who I have here with me this afternoon. Her name is Shelly Haven. Hi, Shelly. Good afternoon and welcome. Shelly, I think your mic is still muted.
Hi, Kira.
Great. Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Journey. And before you get in, as usual, I think by now everyone should be accustomed to me. My name is Kira Walters, and I'm the host of the Entrepreneur's Journey, and also the assistant manager in the Business Advisory Services unit here at JBDC. Now, Miss Shelly Haven is the co-founder and the CEO of FarmLinkr Limited. And this, she may refer to this as her first business, real business, but actually it's not her first entrepreneurial venture. It is in the area of agriculture, which we'll find out is a passion area for her. But Shelley's experience runs as a management consultant and and in accounting even before that. She was schooled in Jamaica at the University of the West Indies, where she got her first degree in accounting and management studies, and also from Holt International Business School, where she received an executive MBA, where she focused on disruptive innovation, disruptive business models, and management strategies for emerging economies. We're going to hear how these points, these specialities are very significant for the role that and the vision that Shelley has for Jamaica. Yes, Shelley? These are all strategic points. And without further ado, please, Shelley, tell us how are you doing today, and what is your vibe coming out of 2020 and into 2021?
Thanks so much, Kira. I'm doing great. And coming out of 2020 into 2021, my perspective is that it can only get better. I'm very excited about what 2021 has in store for us. We know we've all been living in the new era of the pandemic, and we have a vaccine out there now. So I think we all have a positive outlook, and I definitely have a positive outlook. In terms of my business, FarmLinkr, I think, we're in the industry of food, and
Mhm.
pandemic or no pandemic, we all have to eat. So I think it's all positive for us. We're looking to the export market, and we're expecting great things for 2021.
Okay. Tell us about FarmLinker. What is FarmLinker really? What is that business about?
But FarmLinkr is a sales, marketing, and distribution company for fresh agricultural produce. And when I say it that way, okay, we have quite a number of those, but our vision and our purpose is really about transformation of the agricultural sector. And so we're looking to do that with a bit of a difference. And we help farmers to market their produce across all channels. So whether through direct marketing directly to the hotels, or through an online platform that we have. And I think this is the part that a lot of people are really excited about. So we like to call FarmLinkr, it's like the Amazon for fresh produce. So we're really empowering our farmers to get online and to be able to market their produce to all of Jamaica and to the rest of the world, regardless of where they are. So it's an e-commerce platform. We've been hearing a lot of talk about e-commerce. Farmers can actually get on there, create their own online store and sell their items directly to either corporate buyers or even for home delivery. And so that is kind of the main thrust of what we are. We also offer farmers contractual arrangements where they can go produce with us on contract, either for export markets or for local markets such as the hotels and supermarkets.
Okay, so your business has an e-commerce arm to it. It's a significant part of the business model. Your business was started in 2017.
Right.
Uh, and e-commerce right now is a very relevant hot button offer or function that micro business and small businesses are going to are finding rather, that is critical to their operations. You've been around now for what, just about coming on to 3 years.
We're just about to start year five, sorry, since 2017. This is the beginning of year five. We started February 2017. So we
Mhm.
finished 4 years and we're now about to start year five. And we started as solely an e-commerce platform. So this has nothing to do with the pandemic. So the vision
Right.
was there from then. The other things that I told you about in terms of direct selling and contract farming, those are things that we added to the business model subsequently, based on what we saw in the environment.
I mentioned the timing because you would have had some time to validate. You would have seen this demand, this need emerging as far back as when you started, and now at this point where it is so significant a demand for everyone. Can you identify? Can you express for us any ways in which what is going on currently has impacted your offering, and maybe what your plans are, or how it is that you're doing things?
So yes, definitely. So when we started FarmLinkr back in 2017, I always had the vision that this is going to be the future. Buying fresh produce online, I firmly believed it was the future. And so we were getting in when there was hardly anybody else around that was doing any kind of e-commerce. We always expected that it was going to be several years well before the market would come around. And we expected it was going to be a slow process. What we are seeing now, however, is that COVID has kind of accelerated that process in terms of the acceptance of people to online shopping and doing business online. So a lot of persons, during the lockdown months started to probably order online for the first time. Globally, it has been a trend. Some data that I saw was that 40% of people shopping online did so for the first time during the lockdown, and we saw a lot of that in Jamaica as well. So for us, we're seeing that the acceptance of online and the seeking out of online, that process has accelerated and has probably brought it now to the fore faster than we had originally expected in terms of that whole learning process for shoppers and buyers. We're also seeing that even corporates, which for them we expected they would take even longer, corporates are now going online and seeking out produce online and sending messages to try to find produce. And so for me, that's very positive. That's what we're looking to see to happen. We want to have everyone to get to the place where if you need fresh produce, you know that you can jump on FarmLinkr and search for it, and you'll be able to find what you're looking for.
All right. So having I made these observations, I'm kind of curious, and I guess I'm listening to hear. Have you then seen like a significant demand from new clients, as in people wanting to access, and is it that you are now having to do anything? Is it there a contraction or expansion for in your particular experience for FarmLinkr and what you're offering?
Well, what we are seeing is that we have an increase in the number of farmers. We have been doing some online promotions, and so we've seen an increase in the number of farmers who are reaching out to say that they want to do business with us or they want to set up a store. And we've been doing our own efforts to kind of grow that. So that's definitely growing. There are also lots of other people, as you probably are aware of, who have also jumped into the e-commerce space and
Mm-hmm.
to do e-commerce transactions. So I think there's definitely an increase in activity in this area.
Okay. So would you say there's more opportunity now for you or threats?
Well, I think it's a mixture of both because as I just mentioned, a lot more people are jumping into the e-commerce space. So that, means there's more competition. However, there's more competition, but we do still believe that we have a little bit of a niche because those persons that we have seen who have entered the e-commerce space, not many of them are marketplaces. Some of them are, but a lot of them are marketplace for everything and everyone. And we maintain that we are a marketplace for farmers and for fresh produce. So our niche is going to be, agricultural produce. And we think that separates us and differentiates us from everybody else. And it means also that we are more positioned to partner with and to work with farmers because we are specifically focused on their needs and what's important to them and the buyers that they're serving. So we're not looking at general retail, which some of these other platforms are looking at. And I think they're going to find that it's going to be difficult to serve all of those different groups.
So,
Everyone, right?
so you're saying basically the marketplace is for now is big enough to accommodate the new entrants. So you're not taking that increased competition as too much of a threat at this point based on your strategic approach or direction.
That's right. We are not taking it as too much of a threat as long as, we are able to. We do need to do some more promotion so that more people can hear about us. And if anything, I think that is a threat that's there, budget and funding promotion so that we can have the word spread more widely. Because
Mm-hmm.
at the moment we're doing what we can via social media, but we think that the time is now that we do need to expand that and go a little bit more mass communication in terms of getting the word out there.
Okay. All right. So let's dig a little bit into your background. 17 years of career life, working as a business consultant in Fortune Big Fours, locally and abroad. What brought you to this decision of starting an enterprise of your own and in agriculture at that? What's the backstory to that?
Well, for many years, I always had an interest in starting my own business. I have a long-term goal of attaining financial independence, and my view has always been that that's best achieved through leverage. It's it's it can't be me just working my own hours in a job because there are limits to that. So I always had an interest in, it has to be a business in terms of that component of it. Agriculture, no, I think I've had a very keen interest in agriculture for many years. And as I think about it growing up, there was quite a bit of exposure. I didn't live on a farm or didn't have a farm, but my dad grew crops, while growing up. I went to the market with my parents. Used to wake up at 5 o'clock on Saturday morning to go to the Charles Gordon market. And I had so lots of exposure with that. I used to also walk to school from Catherine Hall to Barracks Road Primary School, and I used to walk through the markets as well to get there. So I used to always observe, everything that's going on, and I'm just like that generally. I observe the things that's going on around me, and I observe the problems and where there is need for solutions. So I've always been observing all of these different imagery of agriculture and what we see, and I've just always just noticed that wow, what happens to all of this stuff that I see packed up on all of these stalls, even at the end of the day? It's the end of the shopping day, even on like the fruit vendors on the streets. And I just observe, you know, or later on when the shopping area was in the supermarket, it's just a lot of waste, and I just observe the problems. But interestingly enough, my view is that the area of agriculture is a sleeping gold mine. I think it has truly untapped potential that we need to unlock. And so it's important for national economic development. And so having that interest in national economic development for Jamaica and seeing how important agriculture was for that, it just seemed obvious to me that I had to do some work in this sector to transform the industry and bring the results of national economic development, which I want to see in my lifetime for the country. And I feel that I have a role to play to bring it about for myself, you know, rather than just waiting. So I think that's where the interest came from. And so when the time became right, that I think now is the time to start a business. It was just obvious to me that, well, it's going to be in agriculture. Now, what should the business be was what I had to figure out. And I think having just completed the MBA, looking at disruptive business models and innovation, that's how FarmLinkr, the concept was born for FarmLinkr.
But you tried your hand at actual being a producer. You're a farmer, that you started as a farmer first, right?
Yes, I've actually been a farmer. I was a bee farmer. I did this in like about 2010, I think, 2009, 2010, thereabouts. So that was my very first venture in agriculture and in farming. And it's quite interesting because I used to be afraid of bees before, and I'm now not afraid of bees anymore. And I love bees, and I would never kill a bee. If one should come into the house, I'd have to gently like guide them outside. So yes, I did that. Just under a year I tried it for, and I think it also provided some insight to me into how I should engage with agriculture in the future, because it made me realize that this probably wasn't the way that was going to allow me to truly leverage my greatest skills and expertise. I needed to think about a different type of business that would enable that and enable greater leverage, because I was actually doing the farming myself with my own hands. And so it was an interesting experience. And I
Yeah.
can tell the farmers, listen, bee farming, very profitable industry sector to go into. Definitely an area to look at.
I like to put all of it in perspective, because, sometimes I remember when we were having a conversation earlier, and you said you were actually scared. You were a little nervous about shifting from, corporate life and going into entrepreneurship. And I don't want to just say that, because if you're listening as part of the online, the social media audience, or here in the Zoom, if you have those kind of fears and reservations, it's normal, it's natural. And it, Shelly just kind of showed us that you can take a path that eases you into it and help you to figure out the things that you maybe a little uncertain about. So you go in, you have an interest in a general area. In your case, it was agriculture, and you went in there just to feel it out. You got some training, and you got the experience, the first-hand experience, and it led you to not to evolve, to pivot the business model from just pure producer to now a service provider in the same area, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely was scared. And I think I told her I had this interest in starting my own business for a very long time. And I think that fear is probably what delayed me until when I finally did it. And that's probably something that a lot of potential or future, entrepreneurs struggle with. And you just feel, I just felt like, I just wasn't sure if I could really do it. If
Mm.
I had what it takes to do it, and would I be able to succeed. And so I really like, I hats off for me to the other persons who have just like gone out there and jumped up and started their own business very young. I think it's really it shows remarkable bravery, because it definitely does require a lot of bravery to just to lunge yourself out there. It's like jumping over the cliff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it,
Shirley, what kind of, as we're here on this point, what kind of entrepreneur would you say you are? Because I think it's important that we also explore the perspective of, there are different types of entrepreneurs, and there are different ways of getting into entrepreneurship. So, what kind of entrepreneur would you describe yourself or call yourself?
Well, what are the options?
Well, for example, we have, as you just mentioned, those persons who were always sure, they always knew, and there's no fear. They appear to be fearless. It's like this is it, and I'm jumping in, I'm going in. And you have those persons who will have built up some experience over a long career in a particular area, and they kind of just naturally evolve and transition into business ownership. um, and you have those persons who are really huge, big, hairy, audacious vision actualizers who they want to be moguls. They want to have multiple enterprises. And the notion of entrepreneurship is not just for self, but it's about creating this legacy for their community, their families, as well as their nations. A part of yours, I think we talked about, is the passion for nation building. So out of those options, and maybe if you can think of anything else that you'd want to this,
I
tell
think
us.
definitely for me, there's probably a mixture of the last two that you mentioned. The overarching one is the passion for nation building and that aspect of it. So definitely the big audacious goal of transformation of the agricultural sector and Jamaica as a developed country, and feeling that I have a role to play for that, and just believing in that. And so our drive, my drive with FarmLinkr every day is all about that. It's a big part of it also is transform the lives of our farmers that we work with, because I believe that farmers should be prosperous and farmers should be wealthy for the tremendous role that they play in society. And we believe that I believe that working with them and working with us, I can help them to achieve that prosperity by showing them the model that we're putting forward. So all the things come together, transform the agricultural sector, the lives of farmers helps to transform that and feeds into nation building. And I think that that's the passion that drives me to know that I definitely have to do this, because I told I was living in the UK for 5 years, and when the time came to an end, I had the opportunity to go to another country, for a couple of years or so, and then go back to the UK. And I just thought to myself, but when am I gonna do all of the nation building stuff that I that I know I need to work on? I have to go back now, because it's no time, because I need to do all of these things. And so that's a big part of it. And another part of it, having the years of experience and having this long career, that helped me with the confidence to say, okay, I think I can definitely do this now. And that's part of why I did the MBA, because I felt that there were some gaps in my knowledge in terms of what I needed for the business. And so when I did it, I had the confidence to say, yes, I definitely think I can do this now. So let's do it.
Okay. Just this is not so random, but relative, I think, because especially with the kind of acceleration of the online, virtual, and the reliance on technology that we have found coming out of 2020 because of the events that have shaped that period. Would you now say um, entrepreneurship is like the new career, new job? Because um, what are your thoughts on that? I've been thinking about that since we spoke yesterday.
Um, for me, there's an interesting view about that. So I believe that in Jamaica, I would really love to see a lot more young people taking the path of entrepreneurship, and
Mm-hmm.
especially people who have been educated and who have like some knowledge in business management or some training in that area, because we do know that one of the challenges we see, I had a management consultancy that was working with entrepreneurs, and we know that the capacity building issue is a big thing. So I do think that the opportunity is definitely there for persons to jump at it. If we're looking at creation of new things using technology to solve problems. But again, I think it's the fair, persons. I don't know if our education system is training our people to become entrepreneurs. I think we're probably being trained to get jobs. And I think that security, that lack of that financial security when you take the path of entrepreneurship is part of the fear that people have. And one of the models I've thought about is that, okay, so there are some key things that you need in business. You probably need someone that understands the finance. You need someone that's going to help with the sales and marketing and, the technology. So, kind of like five people come together who have all of these like main areas and start a business together and work together, because if you have that, then you wouldn't need so much cash. You can use those skills and expertise to create value, and then probably within a year, live at home with mom and dad, and after just out of university, probably within a year, you could start to generate value that could then, pay persons a salary to provide that security that is needed. And I think it's no more doable because the world has now seen and Jamaica has now seen that we can work virtually. There's a lot that can be done virtually. So maybe it will have a lot of persons no longer thinking about the traditional going into an office, renting somewhere, but you can, once you have an internet connection, five of you could probably live at five different parts in Jamaica, and you could work on something to create that solution to the problem that you've been thinking about for a while. So I think that with this growth in technology and innovation, there is just so much out there that we can do without having lots and lots of cash to start. And a lot of it is available to us right here in Jamaica as a small nation that we are, because there's so many services out there now in the cloud that it's free, that or at least you can start with some component of it that's free. So I think persons just need to have a little bit more boldness. And I'm saying it, having not had it myself, when, it was time for me to start. But I think the world is very different now from when I left university in terms of all the technology and services that are available. And you can starting up a company now is so much cheaper than it was years ago, just because of the technology, depending on the nature of the business model that you develop. So I definitely think it's something that I'd like to see more for graduates looking towards, as how they can create their own future and create their own life and create the own job that they really love, that they wake up every day. I was sharing with someone that when I just started FarmLinkr, I was disappointed on a Friday because I couldn't wait for it to get back to Monday so that I could keep going.
Oh, wow. That's a difference. I bet you didn't feel that way when you were working corporate.
That's when you know that you really are enjoying what you're doing, because
Yeah. Yeah. I'm taking from your response to the question, Shelly, that you are definitely advocating for entrepreneurship to be viewed as one of the new careers. I do believe that in the last couple of years, whether by just force in terms of the shifting of the times of the young people who are now in our tertiary institutions or even graduating from high school, even for these institutions and mediums to uh, support their desire for expressing and creating entrepreneurial ventures themselves. It's still, yes, a ways to go in terms of being more prominent, but the shift has already happened. It's in the MSME policy documents, and from a national level, yes, it's recognized. But I just asked the question for us to contemplate it more deliberately in this space, and for persons who may be looking on to think whether you are employed no or not, that the times actually do, I think my personal opinion is it does require some amount of entrepreneurial engagement for personal prosperity and for nation building. And I really admire and want to make mention, special mention of your why, your particular why, which is going beyond, because you could have pursued that career very successfully, continue to pursue your successful career in corporate and do very well for yourself. But when you get to the point where you can start to see how you are placed in society to make a contribution towards creating the world. I love that you say you want to see the fulfillment of Vision 2030, Jamaica becoming developed in your lifetime. I think if all of us really took that to heart, it would actually happen. So I am on that train, and I think not just myself, Kira, but JBDC, we're on the train of wanting to really encourage this kind of fast tracking of that goal through the vehicle of entrepreneurship, because it is probably the only vehicle that can advance it in the at the pace that is necessary right now. Yeah. So we've looked at your why, we've looked at what it is that you're doing, and I want to delve a little bit into the realities of operating a business as a woman. I want you to tell me if you find that there are any unique challenges that you have identified or experienced, and even in terms of the kind of clients that you're having. Are there females in there? Are you finding that there are any common threads that you share with how they are managing? You know, give us some insight into your personal experience.
Yes, so I definitely think that yes, there are definitely challenges to, when doing this as a woman, because I'm a mother, right? I have two sons. One just turned 5, the 5th of January, and the second one is a 15-month-old that keeps me chasing him around, that requires round the clock attention. So there are lots and lots of challenges. And I think that, I don't know, Jamaica was voted as a few years ago top 10 in the world as being really great for women. But we still have a lot of challenges in terms of how the way that we operate doesn't necessarily take a lot of that into consideration. So, sometimes when, meetings before the world of the pandemic, certain meetings are being scheduled and at 7 a.m. or 7:30 a.m. So these breakfast meetings, but I have to take my kids to school or to the nursery or something, so I can't quite make that time. There are lots of just pregnancy, as you know, how that potentially impacts. These are all the things I've had to juggle because my second son obviously came while I was managing FarmLinkr and, running that business. So there are definitely challenges. There are in terms of what I have come across, it seems that the majority of our farmers are men. There are some female farmers, but the majority of farmers are men. The majority of the persons who are also in the buyers are men. The majority of the other distributors are men. So, men are still in the majority in all of these areas. But as you know, in Jamaica, pretty much, all positions and roles have been had by women. So I have not really experienced any view from persons that you can't do it because you're a woman. I don't think we really have that so much. It's more about the day-to-day challenges of, all the different responsibilities that have to be juggled when based on the role of a woman, Right now, the challenge is virtual school and having to be the teacher's assistant while trying to do your job.
Serious.
That's like very challenging. So I think though that I've always just felt that we probably don't collaborate as well as we should in Jamaica. And I think there's a lot more room for that, for us to just share and collaborate a lot more. Just find more ways to find common ground and to work together. Um, I think that sometimes the sense I get is that, everyone wants to be the king in their own kingdom. And I think that probably prevents as much collaboration as we could have. And I believe that we can achieve so much more if we find more ways to work together. And I think that will help us to deal with whatever challenges, as long as we can be compassionate of each other. I don't shy away from my role as a mother. It's right there front and center. I think it's a part of who I am. So I'm a business person, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a CEO, but I'm also a mother. And so that means that I have issues and things to deal with that that has to do with my kids. And I keep that in the conversation because one of the things that I'm also passionate about, having worked in corporate, in Big Four, in management consulting, and here in Jamaica and the UK, it's brutal in terms of how hard you have to work and just the lack of consideration and focus on things such as work-life balance. And for me, I don't want to be a CEO, just runs over those boundaries for people, because I think we're just all people and we must never forget the human part of who we are. We're mothers, we're aunts, we're dads, we have all of these things that, affect our lives. And I think that business should take consideration of those things in terms of trying to achieve whatever goals we do. So for me, that's important. I try to keep that front and center, and within that's the kind of organization I would be looking to build in terms of with our staff and people.
Okay. What would you say has been the biggest challenge you faced so far since establishing FarmLinkr?
Well, wow, the biggest challenge, not having any sales.
How long did that last?
A business and you're trying to just going out there talking to everyone and saying, this is what we're trying to do. And I just remember that probably was the most difficult time before we got our very first account with an hotel. And I'm just having all of these meetings and all these proposals, and everyone is thinking, oh, this is great, this is brilliant, this is too good to be true. But generally, the business community out there, they're afraid to try new people because they just feel like you are not going to deliver what you say, because there have been so many people before that promised and didn't deliver. And so I remember several times when I just felt like, oh my God, I really would love to have some sales right now. Because, you're at that point of introspection thinking, well, I can't validate my business model until it actually starts to work, and we actually are having sales and we're having customers, right? It doesn't matter how great it is, I have to be able to have customers. And so that was a challenge, but it eventually paid off, and we eventually got our very first order from a hotel. Actually, the very, very first order was from a supermarket for some mangoes, and it was one very small order. But the one that I really saw as a turning point was when we successfully got an account with a hotel, and where we started delivering to them weekly. And we started with just one item, and that was significant. And then we just grew from there.
Can you share with us how long it took you to get that first sale, that first order?
Well, so FarmLinkr, when we started in 2017, we just had the online platform, and that is what we were promoting. By the end of that year, or shortly before the end of that year, I realized that given that the market was so way behind in terms of online and the use of technology, we were going to need to modify our business model to do something other than just the online component of it, so that we could start to have some relationship building with the buyers out there, and so that they would get to know us. And then maybe later on, now that when they have known us, then they would consider, shopping with us online. So I would say it's about the end of that first year that we said, okay, we're going to start to offer a direct product. And so we started promoting the contract farming. So that would have been like in 2018 that we started saying to persons, okay, we do this contract farming, we're offering, and we can grow the stuff for you, provide you with a consistent price and so on. And it was one full year later before that hotel account that I was telling you about was like March 2019. So that's how long it took. So when you're there, pushing every single day, and I work a full day and sometimes more than a full day, just not because I'm working for myself, and you're doing that every single day for months and months and months, it can be a bit discouraging. But I just kept going and kept going, and eventually you do see the results.
It's so important to highlight this part of it. Is the less glamorous side of it, is the less exciting part of the journey. but it's also the very reality that all entrepreneurs must face. It's very rare that you're going to get an idea and at the very first month or within the first couple of months that you start to see a financial like things are progressing. I wouldn't use a financial reward because even when that first sale converts to the money in the bank, it doesn't mean that you are able to call that profit or anything like that. So it's very important that for persons who are considering starting to realize that the journey requires that you validate. And during this 1 year period, you are learning so that you could improve on the offering that is there.
Right. So you're
Um,
constantly like revisiting the business model, looking for where to make tweaks to make sure that
mhm,
listening to the market, because a key thing I think entrepreneurs need to understand is that when you have an idea that you go to the market, it's based on a lot of assumptions. So
mhm,
what you must be doing is listening back to the response so you can validate where your assumptions were right and where
mhm.
they were wrong. And so
Excellent
where
point.
sometimes you're right, you keep those things where it was wrong, you change and you react to what the market is.
Excellent point, Shelly. Excellent point. I'd like to just remind the audience. I hope that you guys are coming from our last year audience for the features that we've done before. So you know that you can participate in this session. You may put your questions in the comments, whether you are on social media or you're in the Zoom chat. We usually allow for you to post questions, make comments such that you can get a more direct benefit from participation in the entrepreneur's journey feature. So I'm looking out for it and I will be responding once you make them. And I'm going to continue now. And okay, so I'm seeing that Insta has some questions. Donato is asking, while you are waiting for your first sale, what did you use as motivation and financial assistance? That's a real question. Can you take that, Shelly?
So right. So motivation for me is a purpose. That's what motivates me every day. That the vision and the purpose of what I'm working towards. So helping our farmers to transform their lives, transformation of the agricultural sector and its national economic development. And that's what keeps me going. That's the drive that gets me up out of bed. Financial assistance, luckily for me, I had that support from my family. My spouse was able to, carry that responsibility so that I didn't have to take a regular day job. Because I tell you something that we've all heard the stories. It's very difficult to run your own business on the side while you're doing a day job, and a lot of people have to go that route because you have to pay the bills. And that makes it take even longer for you to get your business to where you need to, because a lot of the things that you need to do, you're not able to do them. So I was pretty fortunate in that area where that wasn't an issue for me. And another thing that is key, the point I was making about, persons who have the technical expertise coming together, the way that I focus on operating FarmLinkr is to keep costs down as much as possible. So while I'm keeping costs down and not spending if we don't have to, we still have very, very high standards. So there's things that require spending, but we have been able to utilize lots and lots of resources that are just available free. So for example, our financial statements were being done. We use Waves accounting, and you know, because of the fact that I have a background in accounting, I was able to do that. So like I didn't have to pay for that. But the point is that I wasn't paying for the accounting system either. So there are lots of so we paid for things like our email hosting and our website hosting, because those things are important. So there are so many things that you can do that allows your company to really operate at a certain level that you don't necessarily have to pay. But there are things that require actual cash, and then you definitely have to have some support for that. So that is where there can be a challenge. If you need to pay for something, like pay for a membership fee in a particular organization. One of the things that we did with the first sale that I told you about, we attended speed networking, which is a program that is put on by the Ministry of Tourism, the Tourism Linkages Network, along with Jamaican Manufacturing and Exporters Association. And we met that first client at speed networking, and we pursued them for an entire year. So we met them March the previous year, and it was one full year before we actually got that sale. There's a whole story behind it, but we paid to go to speed networking, and it was in Montego Bay, and I was even in Kingston. So that's an example of cash that has to be paid, but you're looking at the potential return on that. This is to meet potential buyers that could generate sales, so it's worth it. So you have to just be very strategic about, okay, where you have to spend the money when
Excellent.
there's a small amount of it.
Yes, I hope that was a sufficient response for Donato on Instagram. Thank you for posing that question, Donato. And I just want to also make mention that the we call that what you're talking about there lean, that whole keeping costs down and learning while you go and improving on the process, building out the products functionality as per the feedback that you're getting from the clients. We call that lean startup, lean management of your startup enterprise. And that's something that we actually teach here. It's something that we can coach you on here at JBDC. So if you don't know how, you don't have to worry. You figure it out as you go along, but there are some principles that we can also share with you to help to make that process work, as well as the linkages opportunity that the tourism board has going on for the few years. JBDC has been a part of that, and a few of our clients through our marketing services unit have actually been put in line to benefit from things like the speed networking that you just mentioned too, Shelly. Um, and I want to mention that your relationship with JBDC is quite dynamic. You have been a support business consultant to the organization, a part of our business service network, as well as you're a client who receives support from the organization, business development support from the organization. I have to put that out there because a lot of people don't realize that even they supposedly it's not about your education, it's not about your experience, but you can't build a business by yourself.
Definitely, definitely. And I just want to just add here because it hasn't come up. FarmLinkr is also a DBJ Ignitee. So
Right.
we applied for the Ignite grant. That was for cohort 2, and we were successfully awarded. That's the seed stage applicant, because when we applied, we had 0 sales. So if you're out there, you have an innovative idea or business, you can look at the DBJ Ignite grant. That was for $2.5 million. And if you are a startup state, that is, you already have some sales, the grant is for up to $4 million. And that has been a big help for us as well, because it really enabled us to do some of the important things that we wanted to build out in our business model that have now like positioned us for the next stage. So I really want to thank DBJ for that. I think the Ignite is a great program, and persons can look to that to also help them to develop and grow their business.
Right, that's the innovation grant from the DBJ. It's a good product indeed. I have another question that I'll pose after I ask you one of my own. Another question from Instagram. Um, but I want to ask you, coming out of the learning, coming out of the challenges, you're entering year 5. What has been the high point? What has been the point of success that you say, okay, this has been the most significant for you thus far?
Well, actually, so that first year when it was 2019 when we got our first sale, it was quite significant for us, because I think we closed the year. I think we had something like about 6 million in sales for that first year. And it's not a lot in the context of agriculture, but I was very happy for it. It was just a start. And we were positioned coming out of that. We got some referrals to other properties and we were still targeting very heavily. And so we were positioned for 2020 to be the year that we were going to break even and start to turn a profit, because we had about 20 hotels that we were going to be replicating or offering towards, that we had already been awarded accounts of various items, just the success of our targeting, and that they had said yes, we're going to start to work with them. And so we started one in March. There are a few others that we're going to start in April and later on in the year. And then of course, the pandemic happened, and then all the hotels closed, and then our sales went to zero because we had strategically targeted the hotels first. And so but it went to zero, which was not so great. But because I'd been there before, I think I was better able to manage that. So that it was a pretty good year for us in 2019. They say that 1 in 5 startups succeed within the first 5 years. That's when you need to make it if you're gonna make it. And so we were looking to break even and become profitable in year 4. COVID has kind of put a sledgehammer in all of that. So we're looking to do that in 2021. So so the high point for us was the amount of sales that we got and the fact that we were able to convert the execution of what we're doing into these additional accounts that were about to come on board, but for COVID.
So your response to COVID was what? Hold on and sustain, because your primary customer base just kind of shrunk. Yeah. what was it?
Looking at a graph, it went like zoops.
Mhm.
So what we did was we were actually executing our Ignite project plan, and that had involved an online campaign to promote the online platform. And so that was actually just around March, April, the very same time. So we carried on with that. And then the next thing that we were doing was we shifted focus to the supermarkets, to started to focus on them because they were continuous sales, and we were actually successful to get an account with one of the chains, and we started to do deliveries to them last year. And we have also since registered with a couple other restaurants that we're now looking to try to expand and grow those portfolio. The other strategy we have is to focus a lot more on the export market as well.
Okay.
So these were always within our target customer segments, but we had to select the hotel group to start first because of logistics and the whole thing. So we are now like shifting to focus more on these other segments, given COVID. That's what we did. And going forward, we will have a greater mix of the local and more focus on exports.
I'm not sure if you can give a quick answer to this. One of the Instagram viewers asked if you can say how it is you identify good um, farmers who produce high quality goods
That's is
and
probably
come to FarmLinkr.
that's probably a trade secret. But there's a whole process. We have conversations with the farmers to understand about their operations, how they work, their years of experience, just like any other interview process. And we have a supplier application form that potential farmers need to complete, where we collect some certain information from them. But there are certain things that we're looking for because of what we are trying to offer. Our model is not to spot buy per se. In terms of our direct sales clients, we want consistent supply. So the farmer infrastructure and operation on their farm have to be able to support that. And that's what we look for. In terms of spot buying and spot selling, the website supports that. So farmers, can spot sell, on the website, that's what, whenever you have a crop available, you can just, advertise it on the site. And when the stock is out, you can update that. So that exists. But for the consistent hotels, supermarkets, restaurants, we look for farmers who have a infrastructure in place to be able to support that model.
So in short, the response to that is there are quality management processes. You have to build out your own, you have built out your own quality management processes to deal with this. Now we're winding down in terms of time for this episode of the entrepreneur's journey. And I want to give you the opportunity, Shelly, to share with us what would be the most important um, element, trait, principle, philosophy that you think is important to success as an entrepreneur.
So I think two things I would say. One of them is about the standard and quality of the work that you do. Well, that's my philosophy anyway. I made a promise to myself when I was going to business. I said, okay, so how am I going to ensure that I succeed? I have the knowledge and the capability to do it, and the resources are out there. And I said, well, I'm accustomed to giving 120% when I was in corporate. So now that I'm working for myself, I need to give myself the same. Why would I not deserve to get the best of me in the same way I've given the best of me to everyone else? So that's one. The second thing is about the customer service. Think about what's the customer service that you want to get. Just giving that the wow service, just really going over and above to satisfy the customer, whether it be the farmers that we work with or the buyers that we work with. And just really, we have all received the bad customer service in Jamaica. We know what is right. So do it, right? Do it. And we think about a lot of those things. I don't want to be that. I don't want FarmLinkr to be this. I don't want FarmLinkr to treat customers in this way. So we've really been trying with that. And so we listen to the customers, listen to what they have to say, and we try to respond to help them accordingly. So I think those two things are really key. And I think they definitely can help to ensure that you get success. Do a great job and give great customer service.
Simple and easy to do and not to do. It takes commitment, work ethic. I'm here, work ethic in quality, giving it the best of yourself, giving your entrepreneurial venture the best of yourself, and also giving your customers the best that you can offer to them and best beyond their expectations. Thank you so much for the insight, Shelly. Thank you for sharing your entrepreneur's journey, your story with us, such that we could glean. And I hope for those listening have gotten a little bit of information that would either inspire or inform their own pursuits, whether current or prospective. I want to wish you the very best for this 2021 period, and I hope that your business venture realizes your goals for this period. And we look forward. We're in relationship, so we will find out. We will keep up to date and see how that goes.
Thank you so much. And thanks so much to JBDC. I think JBDC is really doing a great job in terms of working with entrepreneurs and the MSME sector. So it's a really important agency within the government. And yes, we'll definitely be in touch because we're working together on a project at the moment. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, everyone, for turning out during lunchtime. Hope you had your lunch already while you were listening, or if you haven't, then enjoy lunch after this. And we will see you right here again next week at the same time for another entrepreneur, another journey, another story on the JBDC's The Entrepreneur's Journey. Thank you and good afternoon.